This is the Uptick Newswire Stock Day podcast, sponsored by InvestorsHangout.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube to stay up to date on penny stock news and interviews, public information on OTC, pink sheets, and microcap stocks from around the world, with your host, Everett Jolly.
On today's show, I have a returning guest, and I'll tell you what, I'm super excited to have him back on the show. He was on the show back in January 2019. We're talking about XsunX Inc. Well, you can find him on the OTC markets under the ticker symbol XSNX. And with us today is the CEO and principal financial officer and director of the company, Mr. Tom Djokovich. Tom, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back.
Give my listeners, if you would, a little bit of a profile of who you are and what your company does, and then I want to get into the Q&A.
Well, absolutely. Well, we're based out of California, and we service the commercial energy marketplace, for renewable energy marketplace, where we provide energy systems such as solar systems and energy management systems for commercial clients. So that's primarily our focus, is the commercial market space in California, and we do it as a licensed contractor in the state. And we pretty much are a soup to nuts type of organization. We offer consultation, design, engineering, installation, and then post-installation maintenance and management for customers.
Knowing that we have Mr. Trump in the president's office there and having some kind of a disconnect with China, is your market still growing, or is there a disconnect because of the trade and tariffs against China?
Well, actually, that's an interesting, very, very interesting question, in that initially everyone feared the tariffs were going to create a major problem like they did a few years back.
Absolutely.
But conversely, what's actually happened is and maybe unwittingly a strike of genius on Trump's part, in that most of the major Chinese manufacturers are now actually building facilities here on mainland USA to build, manufacture, and distribute their solar modules here domestically. That way they can avoid the tariffs. And it's creating quite an opportunity where we're seeing reduced pricing, even during a period where there's been tariffs that have been presented. So it's actually creating a better market environment for the installers, such as XsunX here in the U.S.
More and more people are learning about the increase of how they can get solar on their houses, how commercials can actually get solar during the car parts, if you will, and sell that energy back into the grid. That being said, what do you think the main driver is going to be in 2019 to creating an increase in your demand in your particular industry?
Well, the general consensus is in the industry is this is the last year that there's going to be a full 30% federal tax credit on each dollar invested in a solar system. Next year it goes to, I believe, 26%. So there's a 4% drop in the available tax credit. But what we're seeing here at XsunX is the majority of customers are calling us, the commercial customers, is because the utilities here in the state are increasing their rates. Notices went out a few months ago that starting March 2019, we're going to see rate increases. And that's the primary driver we're hearing from customers, and it's really generating a lot of increase in phone calls. I mean, in some instances, we're getting as many as 4 phone calls a day from commercial customers. So it's quite an increase over 2018 for us.
Myself and my listeners, we know very little about your company. One, I don't know if you have any patents, but one of the things you guys did, you've developed and begun to market in hybrid manufacturing solutions to produce high-performance copper, indium, gallium. And I just want to know if you might be able to just downgrade it for us, dumb it up for us. What exactly does that mean?
Well, actually, that's an endeavor we pursued years back. When the thin film markets were still viewed as an opportunity. That market collapsed. The thin film market just literally imploded when the cost of manufacturing conventional opaque silicon wafers really was driven down through mass scaling that the Chinese brought to bear. So the thin film market essentially evaporated. And nowadays, you see the primary technology in the market space is the conventional silicon solar cell, and we don't manufacture anything. We employ third-party products, and we select the right technology for each particular design application each customer's need.
And do you foresee a continued increase in the financial benefits that solar and energy management provide, especially in a commercial basis?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. As I mentioned in the prior, just moments ago, how the cost of per watt of installed solar is continuing to go down. On the other end of the spectrum, the cost of our target market, our customers' cost of electrical from their utility continues to increase. So you have this juxtaposed, graphic line with the cost of a conventional electricity continuing to go up significantly, while the cost of solar is going down. And with still these tax credits, 30% this year, 26% next year, 100% bonus depreciation allowances now for commercial customers based on 2017 tax reform. 2018. Tax reform, it's really a significant opportunity, and I think that's one of the main drivers why we're seeing so many phone calls this year.
XsunX is the company that we're highlighting here today on Stock Day. You can find them on the OTC markets under the ticker symbol XSNX. Market cap just a tad bit over $1 million. Stock price about 0.7 cents. You've been listening to the CEO of the company and president, Mr. Tom Djokovich. Tom, let me ask you this: your primary market, I believe, is in California. That being said, it's probably one of the fifth leading world, if it's a country by itself, leading economics in the world if it was a country by itself. That being said, how aggressive is renewable energy standards there?
California is probably one of the best states to do business in. The state legislature set an aggressive target of 50% of the state's renewable energy, state's energy requirements coming from renewable sources within the next several years, and then eventually they're looking to go 100%. So here in this particular state, they're really creating an environment that's ideal for companies like XsunX. So that's why we focus on the commercial market space. One of our primary products is solar carports, solar truck ports, solar storage ports. We're seeing a large increase in demand for those particular products. And we see this market is just a sector that's just going to continue to grow for us in the coming years.
You seem like you guys had revenues over $600,000 in 2018. Market cap just a tad bit north of $1 million. My personal opinion, it seems like you guys are very undervalued where your stock price is. I was wondering if you might be able to comment just a little bit on that.
Well, in the commercial market space, our projects evolve differently than the residential space. Residential space, you can get building permits essentially over the counter. So you draw a set of plans and literally can pull plans over the counter. The commercial space, especially with solar carports, they're considered structures, and they require a longer planning, permitting review process and permitting process, and many more agencies get involved. So last year, while we signed a number of jobs that exceeded the total amount of reported revenue, a lot of that was due to the fact that we had projects that span reporting periods, and we weren't able to either get them permitted within that calendar, our fiscal year, or we just simply span quarters. Here, as we come into 2019, we're starting to see things come together much closer for us. So we're starting to see an increase in the number of simultaneous projects we have in design, in plan check, and in the construction, delivery process. So we're anticipating that in 2019, we're going to be able to close the gap on that disparity in revenue through various reporting periods as a result of increased project flow.
In closing here, Tom, what would you want my listeners to take away from this interview?
Well, I think the most important thing to garner from it is XsunX focuses on the commercial market space. And while most people are really familiar with residential energy and solar energy, the commercial space is an area that's yet to really start to grow as aggressively as residential has. And with our focus in creating expertise in the commercial space for various different products such as energy management, energy storage, and solar carport structures, truck port structures, we really have, I believe, ideally positioned ourselves to really take advantage of the growth opportunities here in California.
As for my listeners, if you're looking for a commercial solar company, look no further than XSunX. You can find them on the OTC markets under the ticker symbol XSNX. Tom, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's a privilege to have you on the show. I know you're a busy guy out there in Southern California. I wish you nothing but continued success. Hopefully you'll come back on the show in 40 or 50 days and give us an update.
I look forward to it, and thank you for the opportunity.
This program is entirely sponsored and produced by Uptick Newswire, LLC, which is responsible for the content. The opinions and information provided on this program are those of the guests and those of the respective companies they represent, and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff or management of Uptick Newswire. Uptick Newswire encourages all listeners of this program to do their due diligence and research when determining investment strategies that will work for them, or to seek the assistance of an investment professional. The guests of this program may have paid for its distribution and are not directly affiliated with Uptick Newswire or this station.